Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. Will start the Capital Needs Committee meeting. I call this meeting to order. I will hand it off to Director Battle for the presentation of the draft capital improvement budget.
All right, so I will turn it over to both David Prophet and Casey Mago. I do my rhyming thing, I get it. Who will lead us through this presentation? Thank you, Board Member Player.
We won't say what the rhyme is, though, but that's good.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you all very much. And Vice Chair Player, thank you for allowing us to present our capital improvement budget request to the board prior to your voting on it later this month. It's always important to ground whatever we do in our core tenets. That's been impressed upon us, that what we do. And what we do is that our work supports all of those core tenets in every facet for the educational purposes of our kids. So what we're presenting to you tonight is the list of district capital needs in the form of a capital improvement budget. And it is a capital improvement budget request only. The process is very simple. Once the board approves the CIB is presented or with any changes, then we'll send that to the mayor's office as well as Metro Planning, and then they will go through their processes. It will ultimately go before Metro Council, and Metro Council will approve a CIB for Metro government, and then at some later point in time, the mayor's office will provide a CSP, a capital spending plan that will be based upon the approved capital improvement budget that council has passed. So where we are today is to present to you this particular capital improvement budget. We've provided three documents. One is the actual capital improvement budget, this piece, the piece that has colored on it. The other is the capital improvement budget request. We call it the one-pager, to sort of break out the initial first year request. That's the longer one, this one. It has no color. And then finally, for your information only, we provided a family engagement report, which is provided for your reference only. We provide that every year so that you can look at capacities of schools and that sort of thing, that and enrollment and so on and so forth. So Casey will get us to the actual document. The capital improvement budget is the way we prioritize our schools is based upon, and in the capital improvement budget request is based upon the facilities condition scores and capacity of our facilities. And they fall, depending on where they fall, is how we choose those to place into the capital improvement budget. As you can see here in year one, which is under column H to the right, which is the first year request, you'll see a list of approximately 26 different projects. These are comprised of needed projects based upon the facilities condition score, or previous projects that weren't totally funded, or signature initiatives that we have here ongoing at the district. At the touch screen. So the last page, go to the last page. If we scroll down to the last page that you can see, this has the multicolored piece. This page constitutes our deferred maintenance projects and requests. It also includes our transportation, our transportation costs, as well as our information technology services and a few other assorted departments, including things like food service, our general services for needed table replacements and things like that throughout the district. The entire project, or the entire capital improvement budget request this year will be $1.2 billion. And that is where that total has come to. I'll leave it at that for now. It's pretty clear cut. I think there may be some questions that you all might have about particular projects and where we are with some of those. Some of them, are already funded or partially funded. particularly in year one, back up on the front page. Of note are Lakeview, Paragon Mills, and Percy Priest. We've included those. We anticipate additional funds for those, but in case something happens, we've included them here because it's simply not funded yet, and we want to make sure that it gets before Metro Council to make sure that if there is a need, that it gets approved, and then they have something to rely upon in their capital improvement budget to create the CSP. Some of the other projects, the highlights, I did bring up two projects that from what was going to be year two into year one, that's Glencliff High School renovation and the McGavick High School renovation. Now, I brought them up for the design pieces only because it's going to take approximately a year. I knew you'd like that one. I brought them up for design only because it's going to take roughly a year to get it designed and drawn and that sort of thing. And then it'll follow next year. Then we would bring up the construction dollars into year one as that request. So those are, I think, the projects of note. Some of them that haven't been funded simply are carryovers from the previous CIB, and you can see those too. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, this is the largest year one I've ever seen. Is there a reason why?
The number of projects and construction costs are astronomical.
Yeah, the sooner the better for everything.
Ma'am?
The sooner the better for everything, basically.
A lot.
Yeah.
In November of 21, we experienced an increase in construction costs that caught nobody knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Contractors, you can ask around, nobody knew it was coming. But it went up around 27% for all construction materials.
And if you are considering the cycle of the process moving from request to budget, if it's not in year one, it cannot be considered. And so there are lots of priorities here, as you see, and there's still some unknowns, as David mentioned, around a few projects that have already started. And so they might give us some ability to hopefully proceed with some other priorities within the district alongside everything that David has already shared. Costs are increasing, and, so on and so forth.
It's really big. And then I guess the only other question I had was I noticed that Nashville School of the Arts has land. Do we have a land parcel identified?
No, not at this point in time. The money is sitting there to be used in the event that we find a piece of land. There are various options that we're looking at. And we'll, obviously, when we get to a place where we can recommend a location, then we'll share it with you all.
Yeah, I know that one's been a back and forth for years, and it's not necessarily on us on that. I was just really interested to see that, and I thought, oh, maybe they found something. Okay. Do we ever anticipate how many council will choose to fund?
No, typically, and it's been a discussion that we have with our Department of Planning downtown, they weigh all the capital improvement budgets against their development or their design plan for the county. And Nashville Next, I guess, is what's out there now. And so they give each one of these projects a score of A, B, C, and D, and that sort of thing. They always come back to us before they issue that, before they issue the recommendations, and they want to know what our priorities are. Well, we tell them that virtually everything is an A because what we provide them to begin with is a list of our priorities, our needs. So more often than not, we'll get the projects listed as A projects. And let me say this, if you've seen their capital improvement budget, it's a rather thick booklet, and it includes all of our projects. They may spread it out from fiscal year 24 or 25 to 25, 26, 26, 27, and so on and so forth. And they may put numbers in those. And then when those years come about, they can vote on those. So they'll be included in their CIB. It's just where we hope it aligns with that A group, so to speak. And that's what we hope.
When they put that out, not the the Nashville Next one, when they put their out, can we make sure that that comes to us also so we can see it? Because I think I missed it.
It's available to the public.
It's always available? Okay.
Should be.
It's on their website.
It's on their website. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
How much, this is a similar question to what Board Member Tyler just asked, but how much money do we typically get, or how much money have we gotten in the most recent, say, 3 or 4 years? I know there have been
I'd
years
like
where
to
we've
say
gotten
not, I'd
none.
like to say not enough, but we
I
get,
mean, it's never enough, but just,
we'll get somewhere on average, I would say, yearly, maybe close to 100 million, what we've been getting here lately. 150, something like that. There have been 2 years, as I recall, that we received none. That was back in 2008, I believe it was, and 2012, I believe. And then since I've been here, we've had as little as 60 million, and we've had as much as, I think, 250 million.
so if we have things, some of these things are underway, some of these things are yet to start. How does that work in what happens next, assuming that, say, we only end up with 100 million?
That's where we have to make the hard decisions on where the priorities are. And we'll work with Dr. Battle and her group to prioritize those. We literally will make our recommendations based upon the needs and the condition scores primarily, first and foremost. And then, if the signature initiatives are something that are alive to make, the educational process in the district work, then that will be considered as well. It's something literally we sit down and we look at it, and it takes several days to figure out what that alignment is.
Another thing I want to highlight these are not in priority order.
Right.
Just as a reminder, they're in alpha order by year. And so I just wanted to highlight that. In addition to that, again, this is a strong nod towards this board and your focus and priorities. We are able to speak to improved outcomes when these investments are happening. So you take the most recent two in Lawson and Goodlettsville Middle, we've already seen enrollment increases. And we're pairing that with other academic and non-academic improvements as well. And so as David was describing, very intentional and strategic placement once we get to the priority given the amount allocated. You can think about this in very much so in an aspirational way, as we're trying to mirror a lot of things around where we are with our operating budget as well, and being clear about what the need is and what we can anticipate and outcomes. The other thing about the capital budget is that the mayor decides the projects, which is different from how the operating budget works. And we've had really strong experience in being able to work closely with our city leadership on those projects and the prioritization of those. Because all of what we see are needs.
Yeah.
And then we've got to be real about what are the most pressing needs today that will help us continue to advance. And so, again, with James Lawson High School, Goodlettsville Elementary School, we've seen the impact of that. And I've already had several conversations with the current mayor about what that has already transformed into positive outcomes for students as we've been able to open those doors this year.
And we see, I'm noting that there are some high schools on here which are in need. I know that. And, but we have been in this situation where we look at utilization and capacity at the elementary level. And given the changes we've made there, finishing out a lot of the elementary projects has been a priority. I'm assuming that will stay the case, and then.
Absolutely. And David mentioned this as Metro Schools Reimagine.
Right.
Like we are really, when you think about the fifth grade transition, when you think about the district priorities and other signature initiatives, we want to make sure that the foundation is strong and that we are able to project out multiple years around what we can anticipate in the capacity index for our schools, but also enrollment and other key initiatives.
Thank you.
So y'all know I'm happy to see my school on the list.
Just
Huh?
Just have one school?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
No, I have a lot of schools on the list, but yes. But happy to see District 4 represented on the list. In general, I do have a question. I think you answered the question, but I just want to verify. I see McGavick High School on year 1 and year 2. And based on, I think what you said, the first one is around
Just design cost.
just design costs, okay?
Right.
And what
If
that
you-
would look like for renovation?
You'll look under column C, directly across from McGavick, you'll see design fees only.
Gotcha, okay.
And if you go down then into the set year 2 on line, what is that, 30? It says construction.
Okay, so this year, if we get the allocation and the budget to get the design fees in, then we'll be having this discussion again next year.
You'll have the same,
Around-
you'll have a similar
around
one.
renovation.
Yes, but we would just move those year 2
Up to year
up
one.
into year 1.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, I'm excited about that. And I know Glencliff needs some love and tender care too. But just happy to see that our high schools are, I know we do a lot of love for our elementaries, but also to see that our high schools are getting that necessary and needed intervention as well. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I must, because my team said, go ahead. Just as a quick reminder, James Austin was the newest addition, but most recently we did build a new Cane Ridge High School. We had a large renovation at Hillsborough High School. Overton High School had a large, Stratford High School. So, yes, and
MLK had that.
MLK and Uvalde. Yes, yes. So we try to make sure that the love is spread, not only
But not
across
in
tiers,
District
but across
4.
the district as well.
I just noticed, I was looking over the list, and I noticed the middle school SSMV program, and I thought that, I clearly just don't know enough about it. I thought that was housed at Vanderbilt and that we paid them, and that why are we renovating something for them?
I'll let Dr. Battle.
I'm happy to talk about this. So part of our Metro Schools Reimagine work is about accelerating the outcomes for our students, both social emotional learning and academics. And one of the things that we've looked at as part of our uniform strategies are expanding access for students beyond the great but limited access we have through our SSMV partnership with Vanderbilt on their site. And so we have, as part of our uniform strategies, we are digging into a strategy to expand our SSMV options. Right now, as we all know, transportation must be provided by the family in order to participate. And when you're thinking through the equity lens, which we're going to talk a lot about tonight, we want to make sure that we're bringing access to many more students across the district, and that current SSMV program is for high school or for high school students. And so when you're thinking about building pathways of success, that doesn't just start in high school. We want to make sure that we're backwards mapping this and designing it from the earliest point in a student's career through the high school experience at Vandy.
And these funds account for modernization within some of the schools to facilitate those needs.
But more to come and what we're thinking around that. But because we have
Currently, you
plans,
have
we
to
can get
be-
ahead of it.
Yeah, because currently you apply as an eighth grader, right? Or
Yes,
you-
that's correct.
Yes, that's correct. And so
And-
this would expand who could apply to
That's
younger
correct, to
grades?
middle school grades.
Okay. All right. I was just curious because I didn't know why we would just do that.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you for your presentation. This is a draft budget, and we plan to vote on the next board meeting. So just want to make that note for our colleagues, we will not be voting on this today. So please review at your leisure. And You have any questions? Just Dr. Battle, and I'm sure Mr. Prophet. And now you got me self-conscious about her name. Casey.
Casey's fine.
Okay.
So one final thing that we want to just mention is continuing to advocate for these dollars with Metro government. It's hugely important that you are our advocates, of course, for what we do. And so hopefully you can make some measured success with your council members from that standpoint. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And I think that's a very important point to emphasize of last year. We had a meeting with an orientation with the council members, particularly the new council members and the board members. And this is a perfect vehicle to continue that conversation and relationship about how we fund schools, how schools operates, how this is different from our operating fund, but also how this really could be a partnership between the council and the board members of how to advocate for resources, particularly in our schools, and the effect that it has overall. So this would be a great time to start continuing the way that Chair Elrod did with that orientation. So I put that out for my colleagues. All right, being no further business, we adjourn the capital needs committee.